You know that feeling, right? That sudden flash of a brilliant idea. But what really separates a fleeting thought from a world-changing innovation? Well, it's not just the idea itself. It's the journey it takes. So today, we're going to map out that entire journey, from that first creative spark all the way to success. So let's kick things off with the big question. What is the difference between a brilliant idea and a successful innovation? It turns out having the idea is just the starting pistol firing. The real race is getting it through the organization and actually out into the world. All right, here's the roadmap for our journey. We'll start with the creative spark. Then we'll look at how to build an organizational greenhouse where ideas can grow. After that, we face the dangerous gauntlet of internal resistance. We'll learn how to navigate the messy, fuzzy front end, and we'll wrap it all up with your innovation toolkit. Okay, let's start at the very beginning, the creative spark. Because if you want to manage innovation, you first have to understand where these great ideas actually come from inside a business. You know, when we talk about creativity inside a company, it has a really specific meaning. It's not just about being artsy or original. An idea is only truly creative if it hits two key criteria. It has to be novel, so something new, and it has to be useful. It's got to solve a real problem or create real value. So what does it actually take for someone to come up with these kinds of ideas? Well, research points to three essential pillars. First, you need expertise. You can't innovate in a vacuum. Second, you need creative thinking skills. The ability to challenge assumptions and connect the dots. And third, you need motivation, that deep internal drive to just solve the puzzle. And you need all three. You can't have one without the others. And those three pillars, they show up as 5 key habits you see in innovators all the time. They are constantly associating different ideas, questioning everything, observing the world around them for hidden needs, experimenting with little tests, and networking to get fresh perspectives. And here's the best part. This isn't some magic you're born with. These are skills you can actually learn and get better at. But look, even the most creative person in the world can't succeed if their ideas fall on barren ground. And that's where we need to zoom out a bit, from the person to the place they work. A brilliant idea is like a tiny seed. It needs the right environment to grow. It needs an organizational greenhouse. So how do you build this greenhouse? Well, as a leader, you have 6 powerful levers you can pull. It all starts with giving people a meaningful challenge. Then give them the freedom to solve it their own way, but make sure they have the resources they need. You also have to build diverse teams where people feel safe to speak up. You need leadership that champions new ideas. And finally, you need organizational support systems that actually reward creativity, not just punish failure. But even in the perfect greenhouse, a promising idea has to survive what comes next. The dangerous gauntlet. This is where most innovations die. And it's not because the idea was bad. It's because it couldn't survive the journey inside the company. And here's the crazy part, right? Truly breakthrough ideas are by their very nature disruptive. They threaten the status quo, budgets, and people's comfort zones. That's exactly why the most original, game-changing ideas face the fiercest resistance. To survive, an idea doesn't just need a champion. It needs a bulletproof communication strategy. So how do you get your idea through that gauntlet? You make it stick. The success model is the perfect tool for this. Keep your idea simple. Make it unexpected to grab people's attention. And this one is so important. Make it concrete. Just think about low-cost airlines. They didn't sell cheaper air travel. They sold the idea of flying for the price of a pair of jeans. See how clear that is? That's concrete. Then you just have to make it credible, find an emotional hook, and wrap it all in a compelling story. Okay, so you've got your sticky idea. It's starting to get some traction. Now you enter the most uncertain phase of all, what experts like Bossink called the fuzzy front end. This is the chaotic, messy, but absolutely vital start of any real innovation. So what is the fuzzy front end? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that messy, early stage where you've got way more questions than answers. The market isn't clear, the tech isn't proven. The biggest mistake companies make here is trying to apply rigid, late-stage planning. You just can't predict the unpredictable. So if rigid planning isn't the key skill here, what is? It's something called absorptive capacity. Think of it as your organization's ability to act like a giant sponge. It's about being able to find valuable new information out there in the world, soak it all up, and then actually use it to create something new and valuable. This is what separates the teams that learn from the ones that get lost in the fog.
And this right here is the absolute key mindset shift you have to make. In the fuzzy front end, your job isn't to execute a perfect plan because you don't have one. Your job is to learn as quickly and as cheaply as you possibly can. The goal is to reduce uncertainty, not to pretend it doesn't exist. It's a process of exploration, not execution.
All right, let's wrap all this up and pack it into a toolkit you can actually use. We've journeyed from the creative individual all the way through the complex process of making innovation happen. So what are the key things to remember? You can really think about this whole journey through two different but totally complementary lenses. On one side, you have the focus on people and their environment, asking, how do we even get creative ideas? And the solution is fostering individual creativity and building that greenhouse. On the other side, you've got the focus on process, asking, how do we handle these ideas once we have them? And the solution there is to build that absorptive capacity and just embrace learning. You absolutely need both. One is about generating the spark, the other is about fanning it into a flame.
So, if you're going to walk away with just a few things, make it these 5. 1. Creativity is always new plus useful. 2. The success model is your best friend for selling an idea. 3. The fuzzy front end is chaotic, but it's where the magic starts. 4. Build your team's absorptive capacity. And 5, remember that early on, execution is learning.
And finally, here's your learning card. Think of this as your quick start guide to making an idea win. First, grow the seed of individual creativity. Then, build the greenhouse with the right culture. You have to tell the story to get support. Then, navigate the fog of uncertainty by constantly learning. And finally, become a sponge for new knowledge. Because remember, a great idea is not the finish line. It's just the starting pestle.